With it now being spooky season, spooky scary skeletons, I now think it's time to do another horror matchup. Starting off with the Death Angels, since the new game for them just came out, and it's quite fitting, and once again it is Halloween. Hell, I'm pretty sure that Halloween Horror Nights thing at Universal's also doing a Death Angel thing, so why not? I can get views. So, let's put him against some of the most iconic slashers that we have ever seen throughout the horror genre. The ranking is going to go from starting off with Ghostface, just the general composite version of all the film Ghostfaces, Art the Clown, since as like the Death Angel now, he's relevant once again to his third film, Michael Myers, Jason, the Xenomorph, and Freddy Krueger, in this order. Now, before we start getting into how the Death Angel would perform in these encounters, let's start with scaling the Death Angel. The Death Angel's attack potency ranges consistently from the casual wall to small building level ranges. They can tear open metal and paper on several occasions, destroy cars pretty casually, all this good stuff. However, the most notable feat comes from the newest game, when we see the destruction and derailing of the train, obviously caused by the Death Angels. We know that the Death Angels generally like to stay in one area, as we learned this from the first film, where 3 Death Angels generally occupy the area of the main character's house. So logically, this should apply here as well. Meaning that since we only see one Death Angel here, it is the most logical conclusion that this one Death Angel derailed this train. So, after doing the calc for this, we learned that the derailing of one car would be about the small building, and the derailing of all, as we see, 6 or 7 cars would be around the building level ranges. And this is necessarily not consistent with their durability anyways. For speed, they don't have much. They can catch up with cars and both humans as well as animals. Subspawning speed pretty much. For abilities, they are somewhat impressive, mainly due to their reactive evolution or adaptation. It is stated by the director these guys are perfect evolutionary machines, and the way they actually obtained their hearing and armor was just adapting. We even see their adaptation to a degree in the films, as when the first Death Angel that we see is hit by the ultrasound or whatever, by the girl, they literally crash out and are knocked out. Yet the second time and the third time, we see that in the second time, not only do they just keep pursuing, we even see in the third time, they keep pursuing even after they were shot in the fleshy opening of their heads. And we even see in the new game that even when disturbed by this frequency, they can still attack. They will still slam things and aren't completely immobilized by it. So while this obviously does hurt them, even if they can still resist it to a degree. And this would also prove their adaptation. And while these guys are blind, they have an extreme acute sense of hearing, even to the point where even if you're silent, they can just sense your movements, like echolocation. And that's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much just echolocation. It would explain why they're clicking all the fucking time too. But the main thing that they shine with is their durability. We know that the meteor that they read on and the explosion that it caused and therefore tanked is confirmed several times they have the force of a nuclear bomb, which makes their statements about them taking everything we have consistent, as that would include higher forms of bombs or nuclear weapons, placing their durability in the city level range consistently. However, you can even get their durability higher as a feat calc in the mountain ranges of power, which is them surviving the destruction of their planet. This, since at least some of them should be closer to the epicenter of the planet than others, but obviously they're not directly in the epicenter of the planet. That is probably physically impossible for these creatures. So this feat wouldn't be planetary, but only mountain level. Some people like to mention that logically it shouldn't make sense on how their armor is, or how their fleshy insides are surviving, since even if they're getting hit by these large explosions, their fleshy insides should just be compressed or destroyed automatically because of, well, physics. Well, that should be true. I guess what we have to say is it's just fiction, because it's very evident this is not true. if they're taking city to mountain level explosions like on screen and we know it for a fact in their lore, then we literally just have to say that this logic just doesn't apply to them for whatever reason. Which makes sense, they are the perfect organism, so maybe they just developed the resistance to that, I guess, or managed to protect themselves somehow. Anyways, after scaling these guys, let's go over their opponents. Firstly, we will go over Ghostface.
Damn, he really about to rock my shit.
Oh, I don't think I need to explain this, do I? Let's just move on to Art the Clown. Art the Clown is a weaker Myers, as he only really has street level feats and athletic human speeds. But he's at least a bit more interesting of a character due to their more demonic aspects of the character, mainly just giving him regeneration, resurrection. But you can overwhelm regeneration. I don't think it matters if you're just one shot, which yeah, he would be one shot in this instance. And I don't really care if Art the Clown comes back like 27 years again. They still would have lost the fight. If Art is like knocked down or cannot fight anymore, doesn't matter if he gets resurrected later on, the fight still is a win for the Death Angels. And I'll be repeating this point because a lot of characters have the same resurrection or immortality. But yeah, Death Angels would pretty easily win. Myers is a character where we start to get into more impressive scaling and not just like street level shit. Myers consistently presents himself in the wall level in terms of attack potency in the canon, H2O, and Thorn timelines via several feats. This is generally where his attack potency caps at, but his durability should be higher, as in the tie-in Thorn comic, he is able to tank the church explosion, which has been calced from the small building to building level range, respectively. For speed, he dodges bullets, subsonic, and he has similar generation to Art, which is resilience to pain in that sense. While obviously Myers is stronger than the first two on this list, it still isn't durable enough to do literally anything to the Death Angel, and their attack potency is still lower than the Death Angels. So while the Myers would have a better time than the two, there's no reason Death Angel wouldn't just eventually win. And it's not like Myers could once again get through the armor. He doesn't have a specific sound weakness to make them open up. And while you can argue Myers is quite stealthy and silent, that doesn't matter if we know Death Angels can just see things based on movement as well, if they just sense hard enough. This is an ability they have, so even if Myers just moves, then Death Angels can just have permanently lock onto him. But now I know people are going to mention the very, very obvious hyperbolic hype statement for Myers. Like some characters in the film with the comics say, he transcends everyone he kills, he's above space, time, and logic, he defies logic, he defies reality. Not only is this not true, like the very comics will show contradiction that he's very much not a character who is like some kind of transcendent god. Some people like to believe that Myers is also like the abstract sense of evil, which no he isn't. What? He's evil, yeah, but that's obviously just to type the character. There's literally no actual evidence other than people who are pretty much fucking insane saying that Myers is some abstract deity or some sort of transcendent space-time god. And if you want to take this logic and apply it to Death Angels, then Death Angels can just automatically adapt to everything. If you want to take everything at just a face value send, and just are absolutely invincible. You cannot pierce their armor no matter what you do. So, but obviously that isn't the case, right? Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna take these statements into 100% validity like most people do. And DVD Myers doesn't scale to the entity. He entered the realm willingly because he just kills. That's the whole point of his character. Doesn't really matter where he does it, he just kills. That's what he does. It's more just a common misconception that he is of the entity than anything. People also like to argue that blood web perk he has, but the blood web is literally from the entity, so he's just getting something from the entity. that empowers him. So, unless you believe the entity is giving him something that is above the entity and makes him defy the entity, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because that implies the entity can create things that are above him. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Let's move on to Jason. The regular old Deadite Jason, or weaker versions of Deadite Jason that we see in the film and tie-in comics, which are actually canon in like 99% of cases, would be around the building level ranges to attack, potency, and durability. He takes building level explosions quite a lot from Demon Freddy from the explosion in part 7. So on, he even takes scales to his ex-counterpart to a degree, who also has these small building level feats, and also takes a building level explosion in Freddy vs. Jason. So I wouldn't say this is inconsistent in the slightest. That he's just building level casually and in his base. He actually is quite fast, which is shockingly, considering the fact that he can dodge bullets from helicopters. It wasn't aim dodge, but still it's actually consistent considering he can blitz Ash, who is a pretty consistent subsonic character, so he can blitz subsonic characters, making him supersonic. While they are both building level in AP, and Jason is faster, it doesn't matter if Jason cannot kill Death Angel. Once again, Jason obviously has its regeneration. Like, yeah, no shit, but I don't think it really does much other than prolong the fight. Jason literally has no way to get past the armor whatsoever. A building level attack does not break through a mountain level thing for very obvious reasons. And at best, the fight is just an endless stalemate, but I still believe Death Angel could just eventually wear Jason down. And while you could argue maybe the possession is a problem, the possession kind of requires, like, either A, the character to be hypnotized, or B, the little bug thing to go through them. Which one, if its mouth is sealed, how is the bug thing gonna go through them? And if the humans can kill the bug thing, then no reason Death Angel can stop it. Because it's gonna make fucking noise. And 2, I don't think the Death Angel really, like, has sentience. Like, I don't know what you're gonna hypnotize. It's an animal. I don't know if it's even, like, sentient in the sense of it's, like, how humans are. Like, how humans can be sentient and therefore can be hypnotized. It doesn't seem like a sentient being. It doesn't follow many of the things that would make it sentient. So, you know, to be sentient, you need to have feelings, which we literally never see the Death Angel experience. They have feelings. So, I really doubt you can hypnotize something that's not really sentient. But either way, even if this requires for Jason's heart to be exposed long enough for where it would actually activate, which, considering the heart would make noise, then the Death Angel would just smash it into pieces. So either way, this really wouldn't work out. But something I also want to mention is that MKX and Savannah Jason don't really change anything. They both suck. I've gone over before, but I'll say it again. MKX just kind of fights featless versions of the characters in alternate realities. Kind of like how in What If, not every character scales to their prime self. That when we see, like, blatantly, they don't. Same thing here, we literally see, like, Liu Kang is for some reason the god of the Nether Realm. Which obviously it doesn't happen to main timeline Liu Kang. And obviously main timeline Liu Kang doesn't fucking die. So, and Savannah Jason just kills a featless Satan. There's literally nothing described about the Satan. Or the hell that he enters. Something I also want to note is the Freddy scaling. Well, obviously, Freddy in the real world is not as strong as Jason. I think this is obvious. Doesn't really matter. Freddy in the real world at best is just Jason level. But at worst, he literally gets overpowered by things that a basic human can survive, and gets, like, beaten up by basic human traps in the real world. So at best, he's just Jason level, which is building, and still not enough to take out a Death Angel. At worst, he is just, like, street level, like Ghostface level. So, but in the dream world, not only is Freddy pretty logically not taking the fight seriously, and Freddy is still weakened to a degree from the fact that people do not fear him yet. We know he can use his powers just to a lesser degree. Freddy dominates Jason in the fight. The only reason that Jason is not dying is because of his immortality, which isn't necessarily scaled to his durability. Literally, the entire fight is Freddy taking everything Jason does and then Freddy literally ping-ponging Jason around. He ragdolls him in the most literal sense. I don't understand how you scale to a character who does this to you in a weakened state and in a state that they're pretty obviously not taking seriously and just having kind of fun. Which, to be fair, Freddy does mostly in the dream world. We've never really seen him fight too seriously in the dream world, unless for some specific occasions, since literally everyone in the dream world he fights is like not even close to contending him in the dream world. But, and don't even act like Jason scales to Demon Freddy, who isn't serious like 100% of the time, until like the very, very end, and literally mollywops Jason in every single encounter. I don't want people to act like he scales to Demon Freddy. And this is going to become obvious as we look at Demon Freddy later on, and what he can actually do compared to Jason. Even if a lot of the higher ends that people use aren't even things that would scale to his durability, just kind of like creation or attack potency feats, which Jason doesn't upscale. So we just upscale that stuff for Freddy's durability, which doesn't necessitate that at all. Even if you want to believe any Jason highball you can think of that gets him above like City, there's like 5 anti-feats for this. So I really don't want to burst your bubble, but at best Jason is not above City. The only real version I think that could maybe handle the Death Angels are Jason X, due to Jason X having City level durability, and people harming him who eventually beats. Meaning it scales to his AP as well. Well, I do have some personal problems with it. Let's just give it to him for now. We also have several things that support at the least his Jason X being above his building level counterpart and having higher feats than just building level. Lower than the Death Angel's durability, but higher enough where the Angels can't harm him. With Jason X having adaptation, better regen, and can make himself even intangible. But you think now that the Death Angels would lose, there's a really big problem that I didn't mention before specifically for this moment. The Death Angels have like passive EMPs that they produce. And we see this in the film, they fuck up technology pretty casually, despite like existing. So, and I mean, Jason is made up of nanobots, or at least Jason X's. So, what the fuck is Jason X supposed to do when the passive EMPs literally negate the nanobots, since we have literally seen them never resist like EMPs whatsoever, or anything related to an EMP. So I doubt they could suddenly resist it. So at the very least, Jason X, all of his nanobots technology would just be destroyed, and it would just kind of go back to a base Jason, or at the worst, Jason X just dies. Outright, he just fucking gets defeated. So, well, the base Jason versus just a regular old Death Angel would win, just like because they're too durable. Jason X, he just has a specific counter for it, and that's the problem, that Jason X doesn't really have a win con with someone who passively would negate his nanotechnology, which he's made up of entirely. So, let's move on to the Xenomorphs, who I covered pretty recently. Xenomorphs have small to large building level feats, such as ripping through this metal door and taking several explosions. This is consistent, as Xenos often fight each other and would scale to one another. For speed, these guys would be in the subsonic tier due to their consistent bullet timing feats. So similar situation at base Jason, right? No real way to get through the zero. Except for the acid. The acid isn't just like normal chemical acid, normal even strong acid. It is a acid that goes through thick, layered metal spaceship hulls, even to the point, as most recently in Romulus, going through the hull to the point where the space vacuum formed, and it's just started to suck everything out of the ship. And we even know it affects things on the atomic level. Well, the script for The Quiet Place 1 does state that the Death Angels can resist like chemicals and logically just acids, which makes sense. If the humans tried literally everything, they probably would have tried that as well. Like, they had no other option, they at least would have tried it. But we've never seen the Death Angels as something that goes on the atomic level. So I personally do think the Death Angel would stop here, as like the Death Angel would try to get hidden, and then the blood would just get all over them, and it would probably burn through their armor and into their fleshy insides. More or less, Xenomorph just like spits it at them, and then even then they're just kind of cooked. So Yeah, the Death Angels are kind of cooked here. Literally, they will be turned into acid cooked soup. But let's just say he moves on to the next tier just to see how he would do against Freddy. Since Freddy is pretty varied and depending on what kind of context you give him or what kind of form of Freddy we're using. Also, something to note, the non-canon versions of the Xenomorphs who can like fight fucking weakened Superman and the Hulk obviously beat the Death Angels. I mean, what did you expect? I don't know what you were going to expect of that. But finally for Freddy, he is very situation dependent in total. In the real world, he's either, once again, a Jason level challenge or like street level, if we take his lower performances seriously. Either way, in the world, he kind of gets slapped up kind of badly, no matter what interpretation you take. But in the dream world, Death Angels even sleep. We never see them eat, except for that one time, but that's one time and we never see them eat again, even over the course of like several days and years actually. We never see them sleep, which is the main thing. Well, they sometimes eat. They definitely don't need to sleep from what it seems. We never see them sleep, we never see them even get close to running out of energy. No matter what they really do, or no matter how much they're chasing something, they never really run out of energy. People have speculated that like they feed off the sun's energy, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense since their home planet was quite dark. And we do know that they need to feed on things, we just don't know if they necessarily can sleep, which they might not need to. These are aliens, I wouldn't put it past them, and considering it's never mentioned or described or even shown once, you could just make the argument that they just literally cannot sleep, which means Freddy cannot put them in the dream world. But let's say they just magically appear in the dream world. Let's say they could sleep for whatever reason. Let's say the fight starts in the dream world. Not only does Dream World Freddy have like multi-city block to mountain level attack potency and durability with sub-relativistic attack speed, he literally can just warp reality to however he wants to, like casually. We've seen him do so many things, I can't even be bothered to list out just how many things and how many ways he's manipulated this realm to his whim. So not only would Freddy actually be able to get past the armor, and not only would Freddy be able to blitz the Death Angels, they'd be able to warp the Death Angels in so many ways it's not even funny. And if you take the higher ends for Freddy, like the higher dimensional shit, at face value, then yeah, this matchup becomes even more of a stomp even than just regular old base Dream World Freddy. But if you want to really go that far and essentially be a jackass and use Demon Freddy, this becomes even worse, since literally anything Freddy can do in the Dream World just happens in reality. He can manipulate reality however he wants. We can see him do this. He does a multitude of things in the comic, for everything from transmutation to literally making his face appear in the sky. It's quite crazy, actually. Even threatening to destroy the world while he's at it, which is consistent considering the Necronomicon, where his power comes from, is considered a quote-unquote limitless power source. So once again, if we want to take that at face value, very heavily outscales. But at the end, how will the Death Angel do? They got through most of them, and I think this kind of proves that Death Angel can kind of get through like most slashes, since I'm going to be real with you. Most slashes kind of suck, but the Xenomorphs, Freddy, and I guess if you have any other slashers in those kind of ranges of power, or have any specific abilities that can counter the Death Angels, then yeah, they also win too. Obviously, I'm not going to cover every single slasher, but I think it should give you a general idea of how the Death Angel stacks up to some other iconic horror characters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the video if you enjoyed it. See you next time.